So at New River, we have 4 values, and everything we do as a church functions through these values. The first one is that we're presence people. We long for the presence of God. We long to encounter God. Every time we gather, every time we meet, the focus is Him. We worship for Him. We pray for Him. We preach. Everything we do is for Him. And so that people can have an encounter with His presence. And so we're presence people. Our second core value is that we're set free. We believe that God calls all believers to live in freedom. And there's so many people who maybe enter into a relationship with Jesus, but there's still a lot of baggage and things going on in their life. And so we're passionate about freedom, seeing people set free. Our third value is belonging. We long for every person who comes through the doors of this place to feel like they found a place to belong, whether that's in serving, whether that's in missions, whether that's on, whatever area that's in. We want people to feel like they belong, like they have a family, like that they have a community that's surrounding them. But then our fourth value that really kind of brings completion to all the other 3 values is that we live on mission. We are a community on mission. We are a church on mission. And part of what that looks like is as a house, when we give financially, when we tithe, when we sow our finances into the local house, that's not just keeping the lights on, that's not just paying the pastors, that's not just building a new playground outside or things like that. We are funding ministries and missions organizations all around Parker County and ultimately all around the world. And so what we want to do on a day like today on Global Church Sunday is just give you guys as our church family a window into some stories of impact of what God's doing through your generosity, through your investment in this local church, in this house, so that together we could be a people living on mission. The Great Commission is not the Great Suggestion. Jesus has called us to go. He's called us to make disciples. And ultimately, as we see in Matthew 25, He's called us to visit those who are in prison, to clothe those who are naked, to feed those whose stomachs are hungry. And so we take that call seriously. And so we just want to give you a window through some of these stories, through some of these testimonies, as you hear one-on-one from our missional partners, so that together we could continue to be on mission and continue to invest in the work of the kingdom of God and all that He's doing all over the nations of the earth.
I was living in North Carolina a few years ago and was driving down the highway and saw a woman standing on the median with one of the cardboard signs, and just felt the Lord kind of stir something in me to stop and go talk to her. So parked at the gas station across the street and ran over to the median and just asked her if she wanted to grab some lunch. So we went to the local chicken place and grabbed some lunch, and she just told me her story and told me the things that she had gone through that propelled her into homelessness and into other factors that had put her in the position that she's in. And I think hearing those stories and hearing the hardships that she had gone through, and the realization that a lot of these were things that she couldn't control and didn't have a say over, that propelled her into the situation that she's in, really caused me to look at her differently, to look at homelessness differently, and developed a compassion for the people involved in homelessness, but then also the ways that we can help bring them up out of homelessness. So then when I moved to Texas, heard of Hearts Full of Love, kind of got involved in their ministry with some volunteering and some different opportunities that they offer, and then was offered a position on the board.
I'm Charlie Rickey, and I'm with Grace House Ministries. At Grace House, we get to offer life-affirming support for folks through our medical services at Options Clinic, encouraging a life-affirming pregnancy decision. And then we continue with educational and material support services through our pregnancy center, offering a community of support for the first few years of that child's life to help those parents get off to a good start. And we look for every opportunity to share the gospel with those new parents at our clinic and our center. Additionally, we have an in-school education program called Pure Truth that encourages healthy decision making for those young people, particularly in the area of choosing abstinence until they're in a marriage relationship.
So the inspiration behind 33rd Company is simple. Jesus said, go and make disciples. So we are all about making disciples. We want to go to the most unreached and dangerous places. Places like Pakistan, Iraq, different areas in Israel, Japan, a city in Tokyo that has never really even heard the gospel. So we want to go to the nations and make disciples, but we also want to make disciples here in America as we believe a great Jesus movement is coming. The heart behind 33rd Company is to go fulfill the call to make disciples.
My name is Chris White, and along with my wife, Amber, we started Count Me In. We started off as just a youth camp, and we just, we went through the motions. We had youth in Kenya, but today we have changed into a ministry that is an on-the-ground ministry that's reaching students in schools almost daily. When I met her, I had just moved back from California, and I was not going to go on the mission field unless there was a beach. That is 100% true. My dad was a pastor. I knew what missionaries had to go through. My wife, on the other hand, had spent some time in Mozambique, and she was on her way for 2 years to live in Mozambique when I met her. And her passion and her desire for giving her life away really made me think, like, wow, this is powerful, and so what do I need to do? And I also wanted her to marry me, so I knew that if she was going to be a part of my life, that I was going to have to change the way I looked at missions.
So the impact of Grace House can be seen in the lives of our neighbors. There are folks living near us who would have been lost to abortion if not for the services of Grace House Ministries. Additionally, there are parents that are better equipped to take care of their kiddos. We have the opportunity to do things like supporting people through a formula crisis last year. We got to distribute 550 cans of formula in 2022. There were 14 people who made a new profession of faith in Jesus Christ last year as a result of a visit to one of our locations.
Our partnership with New River helps us in a lot of ways. So we have a monthly partnership with New River that kind of helps us sustain the organization, sustain the staff and the processes that we need for the organization. But then also too, New River helps us with certain projects, specifically like the Christmas drive that we had over the holidays. And we really value the partnership in New River, and it's been special for us in our residents as well.
We've seen great impact with 33rd Company. In this past year, we've been to multiple nations. In the nation of Pakistan alone, we were able to preach to 20,000 people. We saw 13,000 decisions for Jesus. And that's turned into 1,000 leaders being raised up, where we're in 187 villages. We've already dug 37 wells, and we're just seeing great fruit in the nations like that there in Pakistan. Just last week, I heard a report back that in Washington State, one of our internships saw 35 people born again and 20 of them being discipled. We're seeing that fruit all over America. It's so incredible when churches partner with the ministry of 33rd Company, because we're able to raise up more evangelists, to partner with more local churches. God spoke to us and He said, raise up evangelists to partner with local church pastors to win cities.
We had been in Kenya for probably 2 years, and we had done a couple of youth camps. We've gone from like 750 kids to about 1,000, and we were growing. It's getting too much for me to handle. Like, I'm trying to do the sports outreaches, and I'm trying to do the sermons, and I'm trying to arrange the chairs and make sure everybody's fed, and it's getting to be pretty overwhelming. And Carice comes up to me and he goes, I can help. And I have some people who can help me. We can run all your sports. We can do all the soccer tournaments. We can ref them. We can do all things for camp. We can take that off your plate. I said, great. We go back home to Texas, and then we start getting emails saying, is there any way we can promote for next year's camp? And I said, sure. So I'm thinking I'm going to send him some flyers. So I sent him flyers promoting our next year's camp. And the next year's camp, we have about 1,500 kids. And I'm just like, what's happening? And then the next year he says, we have teams that are going out to promote. So I am literally thinking that this guy has a group of friends, and they're just going from school to school, telling people about our camp. What I did not even realize is that he was preaching the gospel in these schools, and kids were getting saved, and all these kids that are getting saved are coming to our camps. And so I finally asked him, I said, are you preaching in the schools? And he says, yes, that's what Count Me In is. That's what Count Me In stands for. And he spoke the vision of Count Me In back to me. And in that moment, a light bulb went off and I almost started crying. I was like, I cannot believe the impact that this ministry is having on you, so much so that you're laying your life down for the vision. So we immediately empowered Carice to start setting up a team. And to this day, we have probably about 100 people who are on volunteer staff. We have about 10 people that are on staff weekly. You know, we're seeing 45,000 salvations, 35,000 salvations last year. This year, we're on par for that many or more.
We would really be lost without support from our local churches. For one thing, they keep us covered in prayer. Ultimately, ours is a spiritual battle to protect the lives of the unborn, these little image bearers, and so prayer is super vital. Our churches, of course, are on their knees before the Father on behalf of us and the work that we get to do, and we're super grateful for that. Churches help in practical ways as well. We have churches come out and do group projects. Some will gather up material items, do a diaper drive for us, and of course financial support. A good portion of our donor dollars come from churches who support us on a regular basis.
So we have a lot of partnerships with a lot of great churches and organizations in the area, such as New River, who help us with larger events to raise awareness, to fundraise, to bless the residents in special ways. But one reminder is to think about the day-to-day, to think about the fact that a lot of our parents are trying to figure out how they're going to feed their kids each day, how they're going to stay warm at night. A lot of our folks are wrestling with the physical and emotional traumas that have been caused due to their past or their current situation, and so they need people to take them to lunch, to stop and talk to them and be ears that will hear them and eyes that will see them and know that they're loved. When you see folks on the side of the street, remember what they're going through and what they're trying to come out of.